Add in the Kouzes and Posner book to the one of the later chapters near the end, not a concluding chapter, to read what they have to say about recognizing contributions. They are, in their discussion of recognizing contributions, talking about extremely impactful leadership behavior. And they're doing it in an organizational context in which they're actually giving us insights, I think, into the informal system that operates in business firms and nonprofits as well in any enterprise. And as we've talked about a little bit in class, this informal system is very much a kind of separate way in which set of feedback that people get that they respond to, and that this informal system of rewards and recognitions has a big impact on behavior in organizations. This includes recognition and criticism, so what we might call rewards and punishments. But again, what they do a really good job of is really putting leadership in the everyday social interactions of organizations. It's very important that we kind of take a little bit of time as you're going through this and start to analytically understand how it relates to the Luthens and Krittner article. Luthens and Krittner is a lot of definitions and kind of taking us through how do we understand the nature of rewards and punishments. And so I'd like you to pay quite a bit of attention to that. There's also, I'd like you to think about this thing called scheduling. And I think you'll see that leaders' effectiveness is partly because they're variably scheduled and unpredictable. And this is not because they're thinking all the time about how do I be variably scheduled and unpredictable. It's that they're so time poor and there's so many demands on their time that invariably the recognition is variably scheduled and unpredictable. And this is one of the good news pieces about what we learn about reinforcement is it's actually possible to do it extremely well within the context of a manager who is time poor. So this reading is very much about the reinforcement model of human behavior, but what it's doing is it's placing it inside the day-to-day activities of the workplace. What I want you to look for here is just how the informal system works. You're going to see that some discussion that it's not completely controlled by management. It's not even clear management is most of it. A lot of it's coworkers, and this kind of foreshadows some material we're going to move into next, where we're looking at the impact of social information, of information that and opinions we get from our coworkers. I'd like you to also note how the leaders are not really in their effectiveness. To some degree, they might be using kind of the organization's formal rewards and recognition system. That's part of it. But an awful lot of the effectiveness, again, is this informal recognition, paying attention to what's happening. And I think you'll also see that what they're identifying is, and some of their principles are, you kind of got to know your people. It's the idiosyncratic nature of recognition, and also the timing and specificity, this kind of notion of contingency that's in Luthens and Krittner and our discussion of reinforcement model. Look how that plays out in practice here. I'd also like you to look at the types of consequences and the schedules that leaders use. One of the things that I hope comes through to you is the schedules are not continuous. They're not all the time. And this is a really key point here, because we really want to understand for leadership, it's not about the continuity, the continuous. We're in fact variable, but it's about the consistency. So we need to have this great consistency to get the full power out of our recognition system. Because this chapter is near the end of the book, they have covered already some things about what we'll call the symbolic nature of management behavior. And this is simply that what managers do, their behavior, as we talked about in the first week, communicates to people. It's people understand what the firm's values are, what management is about, based on what management recognizes. That's the behavior, and people are looking at that and understanding what the organization is about, who the manager is, by what the manager chooses to recognize. We're going to elaborate on this. It also foreshadows some information that's coming up in the next module of the course. So I'd like you to, just think about that, kind of make a note about it. And as we move on, I think you're going to see the relevance of it.